Hi there, I'm Novelina, and Mind Valley has asked me to be your host for this online broadcast today with weight loss expert and best-selling author John Gabriel. I'm really excited about this broadcast today and sharing it with you because you're going to learn key nuggets and things that your doctors, your personal trainers, weight loss gurus won't tell you. And it's really because they don't even have the information that John will share with you. He's actually going to show you his own personal method, and it's fantastic in how it was a natural process for him that's helped over hundreds of thousands of people shed the pounds that they wanted to release to be in their ideal bodies without doing dieting, without all the exercise, and actually without even having any types of surgery. And the reason why you are on this broadcast right now is because you recently took an online test that identified that you had a fat trigger, an aspect of your life that actually makes you want to be or attract fat to your body. And so just a little background on John, he has over 500,000 students. He has a best-selling book called The Gabriel Method, and he actually has been featured on countless radio show and TV shows, and is featured in a documentary called Hungry for Change. So today, if you're struggling with weight loss, or you're trying to lose a few pounds, or you're doing so much when it comes to exercise, I really encourage you to stay tuned because the information that John will share with you will completely transform your life. Now, before we hear from John, I just want to share a personal note. I'm really inspired by the information he's going to share with you today because literally there's a statistic out there that by 2030, 42% of all Americans will be obese. And what John is going to show is that how not only do diets not work, but how they actually make your body want to be fat. And I just think his whole presence around changing that conversation and shifting paradigms is so essential for right now. So thank you and welcome, John.
Thanks, Novelina. I'm really happy to be here.
Before we start exploring your method, I know you have a personal story that's pretty powerful on how you discovered it. Can you share that with us?
Well, for me, Novelina, it all started back in 1990 when I moved to New York. I started working on Wall Street. And it was a very stressful job, and it wasn't paying much, and it was tough to make ends meet, and I was working really, really hard. And it seemed like as soon as I moved to New York, I started gaining weight. And I didn't think too much about it because it's typical, you start a job and you're working hard, you don't have time to exercise, you don't make good food choices, you're sitting in front of a computer all day. Everybody knows this, and you get a little bit out of shape. And that's what happened to me. I got a little bit out of shape. I gained maybe 10 pounds or 20 pounds the first year. But what happened was, I just kept gaining.
Right.
So the second year, I gained another 10 or 20 pounds. By the third year, I'd gone from 180 to about 220 pounds.
Wow.
And I decided that it's time to do something about it. And so I did what everybody does, which is go on a diet, because it just makes sense. Calories in, calories out, just cut your calories, and you'll lose weight. So I went on a diet, and actually I went on a lot of diets.
Yeah, which diets actually?
Well, I'll tell you the whole thing. So every diet I went on, though, followed the same approach. There'd be the whole list of things I couldn't have. No wheat, no sugar, no fat, no salt. I'd follow the diet to the letter, and I'd lose weight, which you can do. In the short term, you can lose weight on a diet. But what happened to me was I came to this place where, with every diet, where I'd lose a little bit of weight, and then I'm not losing weight anymore. Yeah. But I'm still dieting.
So you plateaued.
Right. And I don't know if you've ever had this experience, but many people listening, I know, have had this experience where you're still dieting, you're still fighting cravings left and right, but you're not losing any weight anymore. And it's a little bit like painting yourself into a corner.
Right.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because when you paint yourself into a corner, there's nowhere to go. So I'm dieting, I'm fighting cravings left and right, and I'm not losing weight.
Yeah, you're stuck.
And I'm living in New York, and the smell of pizza at every street corner is driving me crazy.
Yeah.
So eventually I couldn't take it anymore, and I had this big binge. And whatever I lost, if I lost 5 pounds, 10 pounds, whatever I lost would come back like that in 2 days. Boom. It would take me 3 weeks of hard work and struggle and discipline, and within 2 days, boom, that 10 pounds was back. And then 2 days later, I'd be 5 pounds heavier than when I even started the diet. And this went on and on and on, where I'd lose 5 pounds, gain 10 pounds, lose 5 pounds, gain 10 pounds. And I did this for 11 years till I'd gained over 200 pounds. Wow. And when I say I tried everything, I worked face-to-face with the late Dr. Atkins. You know the Atkins diet?
Yes.
So the Atkins diet is a no-carb diet. Everybody knows that. You know, the no-carb, just cut carbs and you lose weight. So I went on the Atkins diet, and I met face-to-face with Dr. Atkins. Every Monday for a month, I spent $4,000 with him.
Wow.
And in the end, I'm sitting in his office, and he's looking at my test scores, and I'm borderline type 2 diabetic, metabolic syndrome, insulin resistance, high cholesterol, high blood pressure, everything's through the roof. And he looks up at me, and he goes, "What are you doing? You're killing yourself." And I thought to myself, is that really the best you can do? I mean, you're Dr. Atkins. You've sold 200 million copies of your book worldwide, and the best you can do is yell at me for being so fat? Like, I'm going to lose weight because you're mad at me? I don't have enough motivation? I'm spending $4,000 with you? I'm waking up at 7 in the morning to meet in your office Monday morning before I'm going to work? And I'm going to lose weight because you're mad at me? And I thought to myself, and then it wasn't just Dr. Atkins. You know, every other diet, I'd go to doctors, naturopaths, homeopaths. I went to the Pritikin Institutes. You know, the Pritikin Institute, at the time it was in California, and so the Pritikin is the exact opposite of the Atkins. So where Atkins is all fat and all protein and no carbs, Pritikin is all carbs and no fat. You know, so what would happen is one week I'd be on the Atkins diet, right? So I'd go to a fast food restaurant, I'd order a hamburger, and if I'm on the Atkins diet, right, I'd eat just the burger and not the bun, right?
Right.
And then the next week, I'd go to the same restaurant, I'd order the same hamburger, but I'm on the Pritikin diet, and now I'm just having the bun and not the burger. You know, I can't just have a burger together. I'm always doing one or the other.
So massive swings.
Yeah. So and then my wife used to joke to me that I was on the Atkins diet during the day and the Pritikin diet at night because I do the no carb thing all day. And, you know, who can go a whole day without carbs, you know? So I'd switch over to the other diet. I'd say, okay, now it's time to do the Pritikin diet and do the carb thing, you know? But I'd do this thing. And it would just be the same pattern. And then what would happen was I'd come to this place in every diet where I'd just have this big binge. And every single day was like a battle where I'm fighting cravings. And it would last a week, 2 weeks, and then I couldn't take it. I'd have this binge. And, you know, when I would have these binges, you know, that was like everything I always wanted. You know, you go to the grocery store, and everything you're looking for, you know, for weeks that you wanted is there, and it's like, now's the time to have it, you know. And I remember one time when I was having one of those days, you know, the bad days, that I once had 3 delivery people show up at my door at the same time, you know, all waiting for me to pay.
Yes.
So here I am, I'm this big guy, I open the door, and there's 3. There's a pizza guy, there's a fast food guy, and there's a Chinese guy, and they're all standing there in line waiting for me to pay. So I try to make it off like there's a party going on. You know, I like sort of turn around and go, hold on guys, I'll be right there. You know, and I just pay. You know, but you have this big binge,
right.
and then it would just, and then the weight would just come back. So this went on until I was over 400 pounds. And I had a kind of turning point when I was over 400 pounds. I remember I was driving home from a movie, and I was thinking about how the last 11 years I just gained 200 pounds, and how I was trying so hard to lose weight, and how there was a time, you know, before I moved to New York, for years, where I never had to worry about weight, where I was sort of effortlessly thin. I could eat whatever I wanted. I was healthy, I was active, but it wasn't an issue. And now, not only am I not able to lose weight, but I'm gaining no matter what I do. And I realized through living through that it's not about discipline, it's not about willpower. And people think, you know, there's this stereotype that fat people are lazy and they should just eat less, and they're weak and overindulgent. And I learned through living through that that's not the case, that something else is going on. So I decided that I was never going to diet again. I figured out that for whatever reason my body wanted to be fat. And as long as it wanted to be fat, there was nothing I could do to stop it. And when I made that realization, I gave up dieting forever. Because what's the point of dieting if your body's just going to fight you? Because you can fight, or you can control what you eat in the short term for a while, but you can't control how hungry you are. That's the domain of your body. Your body's in charge of that. You can't control how fast your metabolism is. That's your body. And you can't control how well you burn fat. And when your body wants to hold on to weight, you become insatiably hungry. Your metabolism slows down and you lose the ability to burn fat. And this is all documented. This is all scientifically proven with the most cutting edge obesity research right now. So what's the point of trying to fight your body when your body can fight back 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? Sooner or later you crack. And so I decided I was never going to diet again. And instead, I was going to try to figure out why my body wanted to be fat in the first place and what I could do to get it to want to be thin. And so rather than diet, I started doing research. And I had a very solid biochemistry background from the University of Pennsylvania. And that gave me enough of a foundation to go on the internet and do the research. And I spent hours a day studying biochemistry and studying obesity. Literally hours and hours. I would read hundreds of research reports in a week. Yeah. And within weeks, I became an expert in all of the different areas of what causes weight gain and what causes weight loss. And this was back in August of 2001. And then in September of 2001, I had a sort of life-changing experience. This was September 11th.
Okay. And
I was scheduled to fly to San Francisco for a business meeting. And I was living in New Jersey. And whenever I fly to San Francisco, I always fly out of Newark Airport. And the only nonstop flights from Newark Airport are the United Airlines flights. There's one in the morning, there's one in the evening. The evening one gets in at 12 o'clock at night, which is 3 o'clock in the morning New York time. So I don't do that one. I only do the morning United Airlines flight. It just so happened that this time I was out doing this weight loss retreat. I was trying to learn about weight loss, and my business partner booked the ticket. And he booked it out of LaGuardia Airport, which meant I would have had to travel from New Jersey through to LaGuardia, spend $300 on parking, take an hour and a half longer to travel, and then transfer out of Cincinnati and wait an hour and a half there. And he did all this to save $150.
Oh, jeez.
And I was really mad at him. As a matter of fact, it was the only time I've ever been mad at this guy. But it turns out he saved my life. Because if I had booked the ticket, I would have been on United Airlines Flight 93, which was the flight that crash landed in Pennsylvania. And that would have been the end of me. And that would have been the end of the story. And when that happened, that was a huge experience for me, because I sort of felt like, here I am killing myself, and the universe was just giving me a second chance. And I decided I wasn't going to waste that second chance. And I let go of a lot of things that weren't working for me. I was living a life that for me was a lie, that wasn't real. And in my heart of hearts, I wanted to be somewhere else. I wanted to be in the unspoiled wilderness, living a natural life rather than being in an office. But I was afraid to do it. I was afraid to take that chance, but I realized it was now or never. I had to start living my life now, because I just got the second chance. So I left what I was doing. I moved to a beautiful, unspoiled place, and I spent my entire life doing research on obesity, on stress. I knew that stress had something to do with it, because it wasn't until I was living a very stressful life that I started gaining all this weight. And I started to lose weight. And I wasn't dieting.
Wow.
And what's amazing is, it was the exact opposite of a diet, because with a diet, you lose 20 pounds in 20 days. But then you have this big plateau, and then you're fighting cravings, and then boom, it comes back up. And I always say that dieting is a little like holding a volleyball underwater, you know?
Yes.
Because the second you let it go, poof, it flies back up again. So I stopped dieting. I stopped having good days. I stopped having bad days. If I wanted, for example, back then, and I don't anymore. Right now, I crave really healthy food. I mean, this is years down the road. It's been over almost 10 years now. But back then, I was still craving chocolate and French fries and pizza and everything everybody craves. So I was eating those things. But I was making sure that I was nourishing my body, because one of the things which we'll discuss is one of the reasons why your body wants to hold on to weight is if you're not nourishing it properly. So I started nourishing it properly. I started dealing with stress, which also we'll discuss. One of the reasons why your body wants to hold on to weight is because the stress hormones are triggering this primal response that's causing you to gain weight. We'll talk about that. So I started dealing with the real issues rather than just going through willpower. And what happened was I started to lose weight, but I lost weight slowly. I lost about 25 or 50 pounds in the first 6 months, which isn't breaking any records when you're over 400 pounds. But what happened was, instead of losing weight quickly and then gaining it back, I lost it slowly, but I started to lose weight quicker. It was the exact opposite of a diet. I lost another 100 pounds in the next 6 months.
Wow.
And then the last 20 pounds that I had to lose flew off me in a couple of weeks. What's really incredible about that is when you lose 200 pounds, I mean, you talk to anyone that's lost 200 pounds, if they've got 20 pounds left on them, they're not going to lose that weight no matter what they do. That last 20 pounds flew off me in a matter of weeks. It was unbelievable. The issues were resolved. The problem was resolved. My body didn't want the weight anymore. It wasn't willpower. It wasn't effort. It wasn't discipline. I didn't become stronger all of a sudden. My body simply didn't want to be fat anymore. And because my body didn't want to be fat anymore, the weight flew off. And so I developed this whole approach based on the concept that dieting is not sustainable. And dieting, not only, as we're going to talk about in a second, not only does dieting not work, dieting makes your body want to be fatter. Not only does it not work, it makes you fat. I mean, there's no one else out there that's saying this, but someone's got to say it. Because there's a million diets out there, and every week there's another diet. And it's all on the same flawed premise that you can somehow force yourself to lose weight. So we go time and time again into these diets where we lose 5 pounds, gain it, lose, and everybody knows it. Everybody that's dieted serially over time and again knows that when they try another diet, they're just going to lose the weight and gain it back again. And I'm going to show you chemically, simply, logically, why that happens. And not only why you gain the weight back, but also why you gain more weight back. And why, if you're a chronic yo-yo dieter, you're getting fatter. It's the dieting that's making you fatter. That's what's making you fatter. So you have to understand what makes your body want to be fat and what makes your body want to be thin. And if you can do that, you can solve your problems forever. It's not what you think it is. It's not about discipline. And the modern dieting paradigm is just flawed and wrong. So what I want to talk about in this webinar is not how to get you on a program where you can avoid chocolate for the rest of your life, or how to eat 1,500 calories and feel good about it, or how to exercise 2 hours a day without burning out. That's not what I want to talk about. I want to talk about why your body wants to be fat and how to get your body to want to be thin.
So what do you mean when you say your body wants to be fat and your body wants to be thin?
Right.
Can you explain that a little bit more?
Right. So what I did was, the first thing I did was I asked myself, why do we need fat?
Yeah.
What's the purpose of fat? And in today's world, there's no purpose of fat. But you have to understand that our bodies have been around for thousands and thousands, and some people even say millions of years. There's been humans in some form for hundreds of thousands, if not over millions of years, okay? And it's only very recently that we're living in this modern world. But if you were living 10,000 years ago, you would be living outdoors. You would not know where your next meal was coming from. There would be no refrigerator. There'd be no grocery stores. There's no restaurants. And you didn't know where your next meal was coming from. So if you were living in an environment like that, fat can save your life in certain living environments. So let's imagine that it's 10,000 years ago, and you're living outdoors, and it's wintertime, and it's cold. How is fat going to help you? Well, where are you going to eat? Okay, there's snow out. You can't fish because the lakes are frozen. There's no fruit. There's no vegetables. The animals are hibernating, and you're cold. In an environment like that, if you had extra fat, you could live off that fat, and the fat would protect you from the cold weather. It acts like an insulator. So the important message here is fat is a form of protection against famines and cold weather. Now, if you were in a famine thousands of years ago, or you were living outdoors and it was cold all the time, those are particular types of stresses that cause a very unique, particular type of chemistry in your body. And that chemistry in your body acts as a trigger to make your body want to be fat for survival reasons, for protection.
That makes sense.
So what happens is that particular type of chemistry that you would get in a famine and cold weather acts as a switch to make your body want to be fat. And when that switch gets activated or it gets triggered, what happens is all these things take place that change in your body that basically turn your body into a fat storage machine. What happens is you're hungrier more. You're hungrier all the time. Your metabolism slows down and your body loses the ability to burn fat. So you're eating more, you don't want to exercise, and all that weight's going into fat, and you can't lose it again. You become a fat storage machine when this fat switch gets activated. And that's the most important message here. You have to understand that we inherited a fat trigger or a fat switch, And when it gets activated, I don't care how disciplined you are, I don't care how much willpower you are, your body will get transformed into a fat storage machine. And so even though today we don't have famines and cold weather that we have to worry about, the important message here is that we have stress, right? I mean, you know that, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But the thing when we talk about stress, there's all kinds of different stresses that we have. We have mental stress, emotional stresses, physical stresses. Sometimes, and this is not for everybody, but sometimes for some people, the stresses in our lives cause the same chemistry as a famine. So our body gets tricked into activating these fat switches and these fat triggers.
So if I'm hearing you correctly, it's around the idea that these stress triggers then get our bodies into survival mode.
They get us into this fat storage mode.
Yeah.
That's exactly right. And so the issue is, do I have a trigger in my life that's causing my body to activate this fat storage mechanism and become a fat storage machine? And if I do, the answer is not to fight it. The answer actually is to accept it and to understand it and to figure out what that trigger is. And so over the years, doing the research that I did, I found there's about 9 or 10 different triggers. And all the triggers are things that cause the same chemistry in your body as a famine. So if you were in a famine, and I don't want to talk too much about chemistry, right? But if you were in a famine, certain things would happen. Certain hormones would get elevated, like cortisol would get elevated. Certain things would happen, like something called insulin resistance, which we sometimes hear about, which is when people have type 2 diabetes, they have something called insulin resistance. So these things happen. Certain things happen with inflammatory hormones get elevated. It's a signature type of hormonal change in your body. It's a very unique signature change that happens from some stresses, and not from all stresses, and not to all people. The most cutting edge researchers, probably the #1 obesity researcher in the world, Dr. Jeffrey Friedman, who discovered the hormone leptin, which is by far the most important hormone as far as this fat triggers goes on. He understands this chemistry. And he said that obesity cannot be ascribed to a breakdown in willpower, and we've got to stop blaming people.
So with what you're saying is, if I walk the streets and I see people who are overweight, that it's because a fat trigger has been activated.
If you walk the street and you see someone with asthma or measles or a broken arm, you know, something's going on, there's something wrong with their body that needs to be healed. It's not because they're weak or they're lazy, something needs to be healed. Fat is a legitimate condition caused by these fat triggers being activated. There are many other types of fat triggers besides dieting, and we can talk about them if you want.
Absolutely. I was going to go there next.
Let's talk about
Let's talk about them.
Okay, so in addition to dieting, you can be eating to your heart's content, but you can still be starving on a nutritional level. And that's because the foods we eat today are nutritionally barren. They're devoid of the types of live, vibrant, healthy nutrients in the right particular combinations and in a way that our body can digest and assimilate. So the foods we eat, the fats are destroyed, and we need fat, by the way. And this whole thing, I want to kill this once and for all, too. This whole idea of fats and carbs. It's not about low carbs or no carbs. It's not about low fat or high fat. It's about good fats and good carbs. Good fats are fats that are not man-made.
Yes.
Good carbs are carbs that are not man-made. Anytime man went in and started making food, we destroyed it. And what happens is it becomes a toxin in your body that causes hormonal and chemical changes. And those hormonal and chemical changes are a fat trigger. So the solution, if dieting, and I have two very, very counter to mainstream wisdom messages for the world. #1 is that obesity is caused by starvation. I'm sure you never heard that before.
No, not at all.
What do I mean by that? Obesity is caused by our bodies triggering the starvation response, the famine response. So some sort of stress in your life is flipping a switch that's causing the starvation response. And the other message is, if obesity is caused by starvation, the answer isn't to diet, but it's actually to add. That is, add the foods your body's starving for.
Right.
And I talked about this a long time ago, and now I'm just starting to hear some people starting to agree with this, because when you add the foods your body's starving for, and this is something I've turned into a science, and it's actually an art form also. And what I mean by that is it's an art to learn how to nourish your body in a way that's delicious, satisfying, nutritious, without being on a diet, but learning how to add, for example, just using one fat versus the other. Something as simple as that. One fat will cause you to lose weight. The other fat will cause you to gain weight, will cause type 2 diabetes, will cause cancer, bipolar disease, heart disease, chronic fatigue syndrome, fibromyalgia, and the list goes on and on. And I'm not telling you don't eat fat. I'm saying eat the right fat, not the wrong fat.
And where can folks find that out?
All these things I think we can give you, not only in this webinar, but also in the course that we're talking about and all the materials that I have.
Okay.
So I'm gonna give you all these things, but just conceptually, something as simple as that.
Right.
Learning basically the art form of nourishing your body. So nutritional famine what I call nutritional famine, or starving on the cellular level, will cause you to gain weight. Another fat trigger is digestion problems. Because even if you're eating the nutrients that you need, if your digestion is not working, you're still not breaking them down, and they're not getting into your bloodstream, and they're not getting into your cells. So if the nutrients aren't getting into your cells, you're starving on a cellular level. And that type of starvation is just like a famine, because your cells aren't being nourished. So it's a fat trigger. And almost everyone today is suffering from digestion problems because of modern day man-made foods destroy your digestion. Medications destroy your digestion. Antibiotics, chlorinated water, and all the friendly bacteria that are in our digestion get destroyed. And then our digestive system gets overrun with parasites. People don't realize this. But our digestion, most of us have worms, yeasts, candidas. These are all parasites that live off of sugar and suck your energy out of your body. And it's simply because we don't know how to take care of our digestion. So learning how to take care of your digestion, again, is an art form that will turn off that trigger and allow you to lose weight. Another trigger is toxins, and people don't realize this. You know, we're taking so many medications and so many vaccinations, and there's so many pesticides in our foods and in our plastic and in our air. What's our body supposed to do with all those toxins? So do you know what our bodies do with these toxins?
No, what do they do?
Our bodies have to store these toxins because they can't eliminate them. So our bodies store these toxins in our fat cells because fat is like this chemical buffer that can protect our bodies from the toxins. And one study I read said that there's up to 800 different toxins in the average person's fat cells. Now, if you're taking in too many toxins than your body can eliminate, your body's not going to let you burn fat.
So, quick question.
Yeah,
I'm going to go back to what you just talked about with the parasites.
Yeah,
because that's kind of like hanging here for me right now, right?
Yeah.
So your method and the things that you did for yourself cleaned all that out of your system.
Absolutely.
And so that's something that folks tuning in today can learn from you through this broadcast.
Virtually everything that I talk about, I have a solution for.
Awesome.
And that solution has been refined and refined and refined through hundreds of thousands of people in 60 countries in 14 different languages over the years.
Wow.
So I have a solution for everything I'm talking about. But the real message of this webinar is let's start looking in the right direction.
Right.
Let's deal with digestion. Let's learn how to nourish our body. Let's get off of chronic yo-yo dieting. Let's deal with toxins. And by doing that, systematically, point by point, we're addressing all these fat triggers.
Right.
Now, there are many other triggers that will cause your body to gain weight. And the most important ones are mental and emotional ones. So I do a lot of work on a mental level with programming your mind and your emotions to want to be thin and to turn off these fat switches. And the reason why mental and emotional triggers are so important is that we all have stress. Right? I mean, do you know anyone that doesn't have stress?
No.
Do you have stress?
Absolutely.
Everybody has stress,
yes.
right? So the thing about stress is that every time you have stress, it causes chemistry in your body. And do you remember I said before that when you're in a famine, it causes a signature type of chemistry, a specific type of hormonal change. Sometimes, for some people, not everybody, and not all the time, but sometimes, for some people, the stresses in their lives cause the exact same chemistry as a famine. Because every time you have mental stress, you're causing chemistry in your body. Every time, and everybody knows that. But it's different chemistry under different circumstances. And if you're causing a certain signature type of chemistry, which is a kind of chronic low-level stress, which I had to deal with. I had to deal with, by the way, every trigger we're mentioning, I had to deal with, okay? So I'm working in New York. I'm under chronic stress like you wouldn't believe, and my body's activating this fat program, this fat switch, because the stress is the exact same as a famine. So you can't lose weight and keep it off if you don't deal with the stresses.
So how many total fat triggers are there?
There's 9 major ones. There's lots of little satellite ones.
Okay.
But there's 9 major ones that we can talk about. And so we've talked about dieting,
Right.
nutritional starvation, digestion, toxins. There's also, and then mental stress, emotional stress, beliefs, and then also medications. There's lots of little satellite ones which we can fill into, but those are the major ones. So you've got mental stress. You've also got emotional stress. So one of the most important considerations are the emotional ones. There's something that I call emotional obesity, which is very, very different than emotional eating. And you know what emotional eating is, right? You know, you're eating because you're...
Well, you're trying to crave or heal something that's happening.
Yeah, you're lonely, you're bored, you're tired,
Right.
you're missing someone, and so you're eating for emotional reasons, and that's very common. Everybody who says I'm doing emotional eating, but you can be fat or thin and do emotional eating. I mean,
Right.
anyone can have a block of chocolate. Emotional obesity is very different. Emotional obesity is the actual need to be fat in order to feel safe.
Wow.
And that's different. And I lived through this. And I know from my experience now, having talked to countless thousands of people, that approximately 80% of people that have had a lifetime of weight issues, and this is an important message I just want to say to the audience, that if you've had a lifetime of weight issues, or more importantly, if you can trace your weight issue to some sort of event like a divorce, a car accident, a separation, an abusive situation, it can cause your body to react in such a way that weight becomes a form of protection. And I'll give you the most tangible example I heard of emotional obesity. I heard back in 2004. After I'd lost my weight and I was on national television, I got a lot of calls from people all over the country. And one lady called me and she told me a story she never told anybody else. And that was that when she was 10 years old, she had a babysitter. And she was being abused. And it was actually a female babysitter.
Wow.
And this abuse went on for 3 years. And the whole time she was being abused, she was getting fatter and fatter and fatter. Eventually, she gained so much weight the babysitter wasn't interested in her anymore. And the weight had actually protected her in a way that no one else could. No one was protecting her, and her body protected her. And this lady has spent 30 years dieting. She'll lose 30 pounds on a diet through sheer force. But you know what happens? She walks down the street and someone says, "Wow, you look great." And do you know what happens? A switch goes off.
Right, back up.
And she wants to put that weight on. And she says to me, "I'm sabotaging myself."
Absolutely.
I said, "You're not sabotaging yourself. It's just that your body has made the association that weight is a form of protection from unfriendly advances." So what we had to do was we had to reprogram that. And so we do a lot of work on an emotional and a mental level using tools like visualization to reprogram these associations. But when you have the association that weight is making you feel safe, and I can tell you it's for 80% of the people that I talk to, this is the case. When you have that, you have got to solve that problem. So we do a lot of work with visualization to reprogram that so that you feel safe being thin. And the key message is, if you feel safe being thin, you will lose weight. It's not about diet or willpower or discipline. You've got to address the real issues. So emotional obesity is another fat trigger. Another trigger is what I call limiting beliefs. So our minds are incredibly powerful in creating chemistry in our body. If we have the belief that we can't lose weight, that's going to get in the way, even if you address all these other switches. So if you stop chronic dieting, if you learn how to nourish your body, if you deal with digestion issues, if you deal with toxins, if you deal with the medications that are causing you to gain weight, if you deal with stress and mental obesity, if you deal with all those things, but yet you still have a belief that you won't lose weight, that's going to get in the way. So what I do is I look at everything. I leave no stone unturned.
Right.
So we have some very powerful visualization techniques we use to help change and reprogram beliefs. And our minds are incredibly powerful this way. So in this way, we use visualization to reduce stress, to deal with emotional issues, the emotional obesity and the belief that fat is safety. We reprogram that so that thin is safety. And you would be amazed at how much weight people lose when you can reprogram that belief. Because some of the biggest people out there are big because their bodies feel like that weight is protecting them. And when you reprogram that, you get people to lose 200 pounds.
So when you sit down with a client one-on-one,
Yeah.
how do you actually help them identify what their top 1 or 2, 3 fat triggers are?
I go through, in my head, I go through a system like a checklist, where I ask them questions about, that will give me clues about their digestion, about whether they have emotional issues, about their belief systems surrounding weight loss, about how much toxins they might have, about how much dieting they've done, about how they're nourishing their body, what medications they're on, whether or not they have sleep apnea, which is another fat trigger, which we didn't talk about, which we can talk about in a second. So by asking a system of questions, I will know what triggers apply to them. And what I find is that there's always one trigger that started it, but after it starts, most people have at least 5 or 6 triggers.
Wow.
Because what happens is, let's say, for example, your issue is emotions, like an emotional trauma. Well, once you have that emotional trauma, it's going to cause stress. You're going to have stress. And that stress is going to affect your digestion. So you're going to have digestion issues. And the fact that your fat switch has been activated is going to cause you to eat junk food. So you're going to eat more junk food, which is going to create more starvation and blood sugar fluctuations. And then once you gain a certain amount of weight, you have sleep apnea, which I'll talk about in a second, and that makes it all worse. So it starts from one place, and then it builds into other things. So what we do is systematically, step by step, we unwind the whole thing. We find the root cause, we deal with it, and then we deal with all the ancillary situations, all the ancillary triggers that have been activated. So let's just talk about what the fat triggers are. There's one more we didn't talk about. It's a big one. It's a sleep apnea, and that's something we can talk a lot about. And what happens is when your neck is heavy and you try to sleep, the weight of your neck overcomes the pressure of your windpipe, and so you keep waking up. But you don't know you're waking up. You just kind of like, you're still in a sleep, but you're getting jolted all night. Sort of like when you're on a plane and you're trying to sleep, you keep going like this,
Right.
So you're doing that all night. You don't even know it. And that is it's a fat trigger that causes you to gain an enormous amount of weight because you're tired all the time. And when you're tired all the time, you crave junk food. You know how when you're traveling for 3 days and you haven't slept, you just need junk food. You go from coffee to donuts to ice cream, back. So you live your life that way. And it also causes a chemical condition where it elevates certain hormones in your body that are the exact same hormones that get elevated in a famine. And so it acts as this enormous fat trigger. And it all comes because you've gained a certain amount of weight. So that has to get addressed. So if you look at some of the major triggers, what are we talking about? Number one, chronic yo-yo dieting. And I can't say this enough. Not only does dieting not work, it's a trigger that makes your body want to be fat. And if you take nothing else away from this webinar, know this one thing. Take this one thing away. Not only does dieting not work in the long term, dieting actually makes your body want to be fat. Take that one thing away. So that's a trigger. Nutritional starvation is a trigger. Digestion issues are a trigger. Toxins are a trigger. Medications are a trigger. Sleep apnea is a trigger. Stress, emotional obesity, limiting beliefs. All of these 9 triggers act as little switches that activate our fat genes. So we have to address them systematically. And we have a way of addressing them systematically. So with chronic yo-yo dieting, we teach people how to, instead of diet, nourish your body. And by nourishing your body, you're not in famine anymore. We teach people how to improve their digestion. And by improving their digestion, they're able to nourish their body better and kill the parasites in their bodies. And so they're not having sugar cravings, and their fat switch is getting turned off, so their metabolism is speeding up. Stress, emotional obesity, limiting beliefs, all those we do visualization with. And we have very, very powerful and very effective visualizations. And some of them are just 7 minutes long. And I've been refining this now for 7, 10 years now, these different visualizations, so that I can do these visualizations in just 7 minutes that will totally reprogram your body, so that if your body thinks that it needs to be fat in order to feel safe, it's now going to think that it needs to be thin in order to feel safe. If you believe that you can't lose weight, you will start to really believe that the weight will fall off of you effortlessly. If you're feeling chronic stress all the time, you're not going to feel it anymore. So these visualizations are enormously powerful, and they are essential toward losing weight the right way. So in this whole system that we're putting together, what happens is we're not worried about discipline and willpower. We're not worried about forcing you to lose weight. We're not worried about a program. We're worried about getting your body to want to be thin, systematically, step by step, turning off the switches, turning off the fat genes, activating the thin genes, being done with the issue forever. And do you know what's really beautiful also? Is that by doing all these visualizations all the time, you get stronger and stronger mentally. Your mind gets stronger and stronger, and your ability to manifest and create things gets stronger and stronger. And eventually your mind gets so strong and so powerful that you can create almost anything simply by doing visualization. And people talk about that, and I've lived it. I mean, I've seen it in my life, but I've seen where other people haven't been able to do it. You know, they talk about the law of attraction, and people say, well, it didn't work for me. Well, it does work. It's just that you have to get your mind strong enough. And so from when you practice visualization every day, your mind does get strong enough. And I remember, for example, when I first wrote my book, I wanted a certain publisher to publish it because I saw them and I thought they would really understand what I'm doing. So I had this visualization one morning where the publisher called me and they published the book and it spread all over the world. And it was helping people all over the world. And then 2 days later, I get a call from a literary agent who says, I'd like to represent your book. I'd like to sell it to XYZ publisher, which happened to be this publisher. I said, fine. He showed it to them. They bought the book, and it's now been translated into 14 languages, and it's in 60 countries. And so you develop this enormous power from practicing visualization every day that you can use in everything else in your life. So what happens at the end of the day is not only do you lose weight and solve the issue forever, you're able to transform your whole life in incredibly positive ways.
Okay, John, so I'm finally getting this, and this sounds amazing. So can we talk about some of the results you've helped people with?
Well, you know, the results that we're getting are unbelievable. I mean, we're talking about people that have tried to lose weight by dieting for 30 years and are now losing weight and keeping it off. And we're not talking about just 10 pounds or 20 pounds or 50 pounds or even 100 pounds. I'm meeting with people that have lost 200 pounds over the last couple of years and have just kept it off and are done with the whole issue. And I even remember like the very first person that read the book. It was a 69-year-old lady who called me. I was on national television. The book wasn't even done yet. And she called me every 6 months saying, is the book done? Is the book done? Finally, I sent her a draft of it. And she called me then 6 months later. She said she's 69 years old. She lost 113 pounds, totally reversed her type 2 diabetes. Wow. And she's got a new lease on life. And when that happened, that was the first person that ever read my book. And when that happened, I thought, if nothing else comes of this, then here's a 69-year-old lady that just got a new lease in life. So since then now, last month, I was in Brisbane and I met with a lady who lost 100 pounds, and she looks like a fitness trainer. I mean, there's no extra weight on her body. And it turns out that not only did she lose 100 pounds, she's got 11 kids. She lost that weight while she has 11 kids. Another lady I'm about to meet next week told me she just lost 200 pounds. I get stories every single day, and especially now with the new programs that we're putting in place to help people step by step address it, giving them all the support they need, and the way we've systematized it, the results are unbelievable. Actually, we're getting amazing results from people all over the world, and I'm talking about people that have tried to lose weight by dieting and have failed time and time again, and people that are losing not just 5 and 10 pounds, but people are losing 50, 100, even 200 pounds. All over the world, and we're getting testimonials every day. It's actually unbelievable.
Okay, guys, so I'm sure many of you right now at this point are actually curious on how the Gabriel method works in action. So what we did is we actually went out and found a woman, a complete stranger to John Gabriel and even the Gabriel method, who was struggling and has been struggling with weight loss since the age of 7. So we brought her here earlier today for her to have a private session with John Gabriel himself, and we're going to bring her in a little bit to share with you her personal experience about how that went down for her. But before we bring her in, I'd love to ask John to share what happened through that session with Ashley, and if there's any aha moments you can share with us right now.
The coaching session went great, but Ashley's a perfect example of how dieting can make you fat. Okay, Ashley's been chronically yo-yo dieting since she was 7 years old, where she'd lose 5 pounds, gain 10 pounds, lose 5 pounds, gain 10 pounds. And it's a perfect example of how dieting not only doesn't work, but it actually gets your body to want to gain weight. So every time she's gone on a diet, she's lost the weight, but she's put on even more. So what we have to do is we have to undo a lifelong process here, a lifelong pattern of our body continually being in a famine mode where it's forcing her to gain more weight and get her off of dieting. So we have to transition her out of dieting and get her to the point where her body can understand that she's not in a famine anymore, right, and that she can let go of the weight. So between visualization and getting the right nutrition, over time we're going to transition her out of dieting and get her to the point where she's losing weight in a sustainable way and she's not on any kind of program or there's no willpower, and the whole thing can be done with. So that's the goal, and that's what we're trying to do.
That's some solid information. That's awesome. And I think what we're going to do right now is we're actually going to go to some clips of the earlier coaching session you had with Ashley, and then when we come back, you'll see Ashley here live.
Okay.
I have been in a weight loss struggle my whole life.
Okay. When you say most of your life, Saying since when?
I started dieting when I was 7. My mom and my older sister were both pretty weight obsessed, and so I followed suit.
My guess is like when you were 7, I mean, you weren't really you were maybe just a little bit heavier, right? Is that?
Yeah, I was normal. I just had a little pot belly.
You had a little pot belly,
kid.
and then you had a family that was totally obsessed with dieting.
Yeah.
Right. And so what happened since then?
Well, unfortunately, when I was 17, I was always a little bit on the heavier side, but not really bad. I was like 150 pounds in high school, and I had a doctor that put me on a diet pill. And I took that, and I lost about 20 pounds. And then as soon as I was done being on that, I gained 40 pounds back. And then that's when the creep up started happening after that.
How many people are in your immediate family growing up?
5 altogether.
And so you had your sister, who's older or younger?
Older.
And who else?
I have a little brother. He's 4 years younger. My older sister is 2 years older. And then both parents.
Does your brother have a weight problem?
No, he's the only one that does not.
And was he put on diets and things like that too?
No.
Okay.
He's always been the exception, like the.
And what type of weight problem does your father have?
Well, right now he's really in shape. He's got a whole new lifestyle, but he's always been not really large, but a bigger guy, and he has diabetes.
Type 2?
That's adult onset, is it? Yeah. Yeah, and it runs in the family. My mom is overweight. She's probably 220 pounds or so, but they both went on Fen-Phen when Fen-Phen came out, and they did the cabbage soup diet. They've done it all.
So what we need to do is we need to transition you out of a diet mentality, and we need to be very conscious of the different types of things that can activate this fat switch. Because in a sense, everybody has this fat switch, but how quickly it gets activated will be determined to a large extent by your family and your genetics. It's called a genetic predisposition. So in a sense, you grew up in a family with like a hairpin trigger for the fat switch. Mm-hmm. But it's the same fat switch everybody has, and it can get activated from different things. So you grew up with a hairpin trigger. So when you're 7 years old and you went on a diet, as soon as you go on this diet, then your body says, oh, there's a famine out there, and I'm really hyper alert and ready to protect myself against famines because my switch is ready to go. That's how I came into this planet. So what I would like to do with you is get you in a situation where that fat switch is never being activated. So when I say I'm not going to give you a program, what I'm saying is I'm not going to tell you what not to eat. I'm not telling you what you have to. I'm not going to tell you got to go run 10 miles. But I am telling you that you have to nourish your body and you have to nourish your mind. Those are the two things that you have to do. And if you can do that, you will solve your problems. Eventually, your body won't be in a perpetual state of famine. Your mind won't be thinking anxiety-type thoughts and nervous thoughts. You'll have more energy. You will crave less foods. You will crave healthier foods. Your metabolism will speed up. You will regain the ability to burn fat. But the beauty of it is that even though it takes time, you're not dieting. It's not unsustainable. You don't have to eat rice crackers for the rest of your life. So if you're willing to do that, we're putting together a 6-week course, which I want you to take, and you'll be part of it. And in that 6-week course, it's going to give you everything you need to make this transition.
Thank you.
Okay?
Yay, I can't wait.
Great. Thanks.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
So I'd like to welcome Ashley, and thank you for being here.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So earlier today, you had an opportunity to actually have a private session with John Gabriel. First time you've ever heard of the Gabriel method or visited with John. Can you tell us a little bit about how that session went for you?
Yeah, it was great. We talked about my struggles with dieting in the past and what we can do in the future. And I'm really excited.
Can you tell us a little about what you were struggling with as you were?
Yeah, I've been yo-yo dieting since a very young age, since I was 7 years old. Mm-hmm. And so we talked about some of the past history that I've had with dieting and how to fix it in the future.
Has any of it ever worked for you?
No, never. It's worked for a very short period of time and then stopped working completely.
Did you understand in the coaching why it doesn't work for you, why diets don't work?
Yes, because I have turned on the fat switch.
Exactly.
Because from the environment that I grew up in with my family and starting dieting at such a young age, and it has been left on my whole life.
What were some of maybe one or two nuggets that you took away from that coaching session that you can share with us?
Number one, the yo-yo dieting, I sort of already knew, but that there's science behind the fact that it doesn't work. And two, that the stress in my life is also a big cause of my weight gain and the way that I am now.
So what I'm thinking is right now, if you want, we could do a visualization right now, just like a quick, maybe 7-minute visualization.
Awesome.
That helps not only your specific situation of transitioning out of diets and dealing with stress, but maybe touches on some of all the triggers that many of us have out there that will help, in this visualization, will help solve those triggers. So if you're willing, we'll just take maybe 7 minutes to do this visualization.
Awesome. Let's do it.
Okay?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So what you want to do, and you know, any of you that are watching right now, you can do this visualization if you want. So if you just sit up straight, you want to keep your back straight, and have your eyes closed. And take a deep breath in. And a deep breath out and relax. And I'd like you to imagine that there's a ball of white light circulating around your navel. And it's getting brighter and brighter and brighter. And this ball of white light is a healing white light, and it's circulating around your navel. And it starts to move. It moves into your pelvis, and it moves up your spine. And anywhere this ball of white light touches, that part of your body is getting brighter, and it's getting healthier. It's clearing out any blockages in your spine and in your hips. And it just goes up, one vertebrae at a time, up your back. And you can feel it behind your navel, and as it goes up behind your chest, and all the way up to your neck. And so you can imagine your whole spine is glowing with a bright white light. And then this white light goes into your head. And if you touch your tongue to the roof of your mouth, you might feel a little trickle as this white light goes into your tongue and into your throat. And it's opening up any blockages in your throat, giving you the power to speak your mind and your heart. And this beautiful, bright, white light goes into your heart. And you can feel your heart getting brighter and brighter, letting go of any tension, or stress. Anything negative just dissolves. And you feel the light in your heart getting brighter. And this light in your heart is getting brighter and brighter. And what you're feeling is that it's energizing your blood. And so beautiful, bright, energized blood is going all over your body. You can feel it on your left side of your body, energizing every cell in your body, and on the right side of your body. And so every cell of your body is now glowing with a bright white light. And you can imagine, as every cell of your body is glowing with bright white light. And so as every cell of your body is now glowing with a bright white light, I'd like you to imagine that ball of light is back in your navel, and it's spinning around and spiraling, almost like a vortex or a whirlpool. This bright light is spiraling around your navel, and your body is energized and relaxed. And I'd like you to imagine, as you're sitting there, that any excess weight that you have on your body is like an energy. It becomes like an energy. It's not matter anymore. It becomes like an energy. And it's getting sucked into that bright white vortex in your navel. Any excess weight in your body is getting sucked into this vortex or whirlpool in your navel, never to be seen again. So as you're sitting there, all the excess weight is gone, and you're sitting there in your most perfect, ideal shape, with no excess weight on your body. And in this way, you're communicating to your body. Your body understands that this is the way you're supposed to be. And as you're sitting there in your most perfect, ideal shape, all the excess weight is gone. I'd like you to imagine, in your mind's eye, that maybe you're going for a walk on the beach. And you can feel how your body feels to be in perfect, ideal shape. You're strong and fit and lean. And the sun is glowing on your skin. And you're walking on the beach, and you can feel the water on your ankles. And you start walking faster and faster and faster. And maybe you even start to run. And maybe this is the first time you've run in years, but you're running because it feels so good to run. It's so effortless. Your body is so amazing. It's so fit. And as you're running, you can feel your muscles moving. And you're kicking up water in the beach, on the ocean. And you're sprinting. And it feels amazing. You feel so alive. You can feel the wind in your hair and on your face. And as you're running and kicking up water as you run, maybe you stop and you head toward the ocean and you jump over one wave, you jump over a second one, and you dive into the water. And you feel the cool water refresh your suntanned shoulders. And it feels so amazing. This is feeling alive. And maybe you jump up afterwards and you say, this is me. This is my ideal body. And you can communicate to your body, and your body will understand. This is how I'm meant to be. You can make this happen. You can tell your body, this is how I'm meant to be. You can make it happen. It doesn't need to have the fat switch on. You can even imagine like a switch going off, and you're in your perfect ideal shape. And you can imagine now that you're in your perfect ideal shape, how the rest of the day is going to go for you. Or maybe tomorrow, how you'll have an incredible day with your family or at work or in business, how things will flow. And maybe in 2 weeks, 6 months from now, how everything in your life is flowing and you're in shape and you're happy and you're healthy and you're fit and you're vibrant and you're craving real, live, natural, nourishing foods. And you're just not that hungry anymore because you're being energized by life. Everything in your life is nourishing you and energizing you, and you're successful beyond your wildest dreams in every conceivable way. Success is just effortlessly flowing to you. And your body understands this. And you're programming your body to be in its most perfect ideal shape, and your life to be its most perfect ideal life. You're using the power of your mind in a most creative way to create your most perfect ideal body and your most perfect ideal life. And so in your own time and space, when you're ready, you can open your eyes knowing you have just used the power of your mind to forever, permanently transform your body and your life. So Ashley, what I want to do is I want to give you this 6-week course, and I want you to go through it with me. Because in this 6-week course, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be doing visualizations like this that totally transform you at every level. But we're also going to be addressing every conceivable aspect of fat triggers that can cause you to gain weight. So for you, you had a lifetime of dieting issues, and that's been a trigger for you. But so many other triggers are also there that we didn't even talk about that apply to most people. So what we're going to do in the 6-week course is we're going to go step by step and spend a week just focusing on 1 or 2 triggers and what to do about them, and put together an approach for how to nourish your body, how to deal with digestion issues, why it's so important to deal with digestion issues, how to detoxify your body and get your body to regain the ability to burn fat, how to stabilize your blood sugar so you don't get sugar cravings all the time. And if you've had a lifetime of weight issues, emotional trauma, is usually one of the triggers. So we're going to spend a whole week dealing with emotional traumas. And then there's financial pressures. Almost everybody these days has financial pressures. Well, financial pressures are a trigger, as we mentioned, that can get your body to want to be fat. So we'll spend a whole week just talking about financial issues and how to create abundance. And the beautiful thing is, by the time we start talking about the financial issues, your mind will have gotten so powerful from 4, 5, 6 weeks of visualizations on a daily basis. And doing visualizations like a muscle. They get stronger and stronger and stronger. So that by the time we start dealing with lifestyle issues like how to create more abundance and more wealth, your mind will be so powerful that when you do those visualizations, it's like you're summoning the universe to create what it is that you want. And you have the ability to do this. So we're going to be spending 4, 5, 6 weeks, daily visualizations. Just 10 minutes in the morning is enough. It's like if you were to do bicep curls, 10 minutes every day. Imagine how much stronger for this arm versus this arm. Imagine how much stronger this arm would be in 6 weeks than this arm. It would be 3 or 4 times the strength. And so not only are you going to be able to transform your body, you're going to be able to transform every aspect of your life. And so that's what I want to do for you in this 6-week course, and that's what we're going to be doing. So if you're willing to do it with me, I want you to invite you to do this with me.
I'm absolutely willing.
Beautiful. Good.
So Ashley, how do you feel about taking John's 6-week course?
I'm really excited, and I hope that it finally puts a stop to the dieting that I've been doing my entire life, and hopefully I can finally start living my life the way I want to.
And that visualization process we just went through was amazing.
Yes, it was. I don't often think about myself in that fashion. It seems I've tried dieting so many times and it's failed so many times that I don't even let myself think of myself as a new me, as somebody that's successful. So it was emotional for me to actually truly imagine that.
Yeah, believe it or not, that's all you have to do. I mean, that's what I did. And one of the things we're going to do in the class also is that we're going to use that image that you're creating and we're going to use it like a magnet. So maybe it's a couple months down the road, but it's going to be a magnet that's going to pull you. So that every action you take going forward, whether you turn left, turn right, you eat this food, you eat that food, you apply for this job, whatever you do, you're doing because that magnet is pulling you. You're actually creating your most ideal body and life, and it's pulling you to it. So it's an incredibly powerful technique.
Good, I'm excited.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, so here's where you come in. Now I want to take the opportunity to personally invite you to participate in the Gabriel Code, because this is where it really all begins. Right here, right now, on this online broadcast, for the first time, we're opening up John's new 6-week course. So what that means is that you have the opportunity to be amongst the first people to ever experience it. How cool is that? In addition to that, you actually get a sweet deal on the launch. So before I actually show you and tell you how to enroll in the opportunity and be a part of the Gabriel Code, I'm going to provide a few more details so you really understand what you're going to be receiving. So what you're going to get access to is the beautiful Mind Valley Academy. Your 6-week course will include a weekly class by John where he will walk you through the process step by step. You'll also receive a recorded session where John is addressing the most common weight loss problem people like you are facing.
What I'm doing is I'm guiding you through the process step by step. It's like you came into my home and I'm basically taking you through the process one step at a time. And it's really essential. And what we found in working with other people in a similar fashion is that this step-by-step process that we've been refining really for years, actually, this step-by-step process is the most effective way to address and eliminate all the fat triggers that can cause your body to gain weight. So that once you're done with this, basically, you're done with the issue. You walk away with this, with habits that are in place that systematically and continually turn off these fat switches and keep your body healthy, fit, and vibrant. So you don't have to think about it anymore. So the whole issue is done forever. That's what the purpose of this step-by-step course is. It's to eliminate the issue, solve the problem forever, and move on and enjoy your life. And that's really what I've experienced over the last 8 years. I mean, because for the last 8 years, I haven't been on a program. I haven't been on an approach. I haven't worried about dieting. I've moved on. And so many people now have also moved on. People that have lost 10 pounds, 50 pounds, 100 pounds, and over 200 pounds. They've moved on with their life. They've solved the problem forever because this is the right way to do it. And that's what these classes are going to do. They're going to help you solve the problem forever.
You're also going to get 10 morning visualizations as well as 1 evening visualization so that you can access those throughout the 6 weeks and beyond. In addition to class notes and learning materials that will help you structure your week with checklists. So to get your story and to enroll in the Gabriel Code right now, click on the link below or go to www.gabrielcode.com/special. And just so you know, this isn't going to be available forever. This is a deal right now during this online broadcast, so we definitely want you to take advantage of that. So once again, just let me recap. Go to www.gabrielcode.com/special. And John, do you have a couple moments right now to go over a couple more Q&As?
Yeah, sure, of course.
Awesome. So, the mind is powerful, yes, but can it really help you lose weight?
There's no question. Our minds are incredibly powerful, and we can use our minds to totally transform our bodies. I'm a living proof of that. When I weighed over 400 pounds, I had a very definite image of the way I wanted to look. I wanted to be 180 pounds. I wanted to be fit. I could see myself. And every night as I was going to sleep, I imagined that image. And 2.5 years later, I exactly, and I mean exactly, became that image. And I do not think that's a coincidence. And so many incredibly powerful people have used visualization, or incredibly successful people, I should say, have used visualization to be successful in their lives. You know, they've done studies with Olympic athletes where they visualize doing their ideal sport, and all the muscles and neurons that would be fired if they were doing the sport are all being fired in the same coordinated sequence, and they're getting better and better at the sport. And professional bodybuilders, Arnold Schwarzenegger, when he was a bodybuilder, used to use visualization, and you can say anything you want about his politics or his personal life, but he was one of the best bodybuilders of all time. He used to use visualization. Our minds are incredibly powerful, and we're just beginning to tap into that. And as you practice on a daily basis, you get stronger and stronger to the point where you can create and manifest almost anything in your life, including your most ideal body.
That's awesome. So for those of people out there who may have not really heard that, just, can I lose 15 pounds, 220 pounds? It really is about the image that they have in their mind.
Well, visualization is an incredibly powerful tool for communicating with your body. So one of the problems that we all have, that we don't even know we have, is that we don't even know how to talk to our own brain. So we've got this part of our brain that's in total charge of how hungry we are. And you can fight cravings for a while, but you can't control how hungry you are. Your body's in charge of that, and your body can make you hungry 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So this part of our brain is in control of how hungry we are, or how much energy we have to exercise. It's in control of everything, and we can't even talk to it. So what do you do about that? Well, imagine you were in a foreign country, and nobody spoke your language, right? And you had to do something simple, like go to the bathroom. You could ask 1,000 people, where's the bathroom, and not one of them will tell you. But if you make an image of a bathroom and you just show it to anybody, in an instant they know what it is. Any one of them, and they can tell you. Vision, symbols are the universal language for communicating with someone that doesn't speak your language. And our own brains that are in charge of everything, don't speak our language. But when you make a visual image of the way you would like to look, and you do it when you're in a calm, powerful state, like the visualization that we just did, when you do that, your body understands. It's a way of communicating with your subconscious that's in charge of these fat programs. And when your body understands, the fat switches get turned off. And in essence, what you're saying to your body in the form of symbols is you're getting it wrong. All these stresses that are activating our fat switches and making us fat, that's not the proper reaction to the stresses. We're confused. Turn the fat programs off. Turn these switches off and let your body lose weight. That's what you're communicating in symbols. And when your body understands that, it all happens automatically. It's incredibly powerful and effective, but it's so simple that people don't even think to do it.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So John, does that mean that I can completely give up diet and exercise?
What you can do is you can get yourself to a place where your body wants to be thin. And when your body wants to be thin, you don't ever have to diet again, because if you look at what the definition of dieting is, my definition of dieting is in some way restricting yourself. And I can tell you that when your body wants to be thin, you will never have to restrict yourself again, ever, because your body will be working with you to help you lose weight.
So how much time would you recommend anyone spend doing the visualization each day?
Okay, so I've kind of made it as easy as possible. First of all, the evening visualization. The evening visualization is about 25 minutes, but the beauty of it is you'll fall asleep while you're listening to it. Everybody falls asleep when they're listening to it. It's one of the unique talents I have. is my voice is uniquely structured to help people fall asleep. But I have hundreds of thousands of people all over the world, famous people, that have said to me, they go to sleep every night listening to my voice. But what happens is you fall asleep and basically you're losing weight while you sleep. And to me, it doesn't get any easier than that, because I know from being in a situation where I was over 400 pounds and just tying my shoelaces was a monumental effort. Getting through the day felt like being on a treadmill that was just moving too fast. And you don't want more things to do, and you don't want to know about cutting out anything because you're hungry all the time. So nothing on earth is easier than playing a CD and falling asleep to it. You can't do anything else that's easier and more effective. This person that I was just talking about recently that I met in Brisbane that's lost 220 pounds, he said it all started with listening to the CD. So that you fall asleep to. Now the morning ones I've made real short. They're 7 to 10 minutes. And you just listen to it first thing in the morning. And the way you do it is you have it all set up. So you don't wake up in the morning and you go, where's the CD player? Where do I sit? Where do I put it in? You don't fumble around with it. You just have it all set up. So as soon as you wake up, click. Before you're even up. And it programs your mind and body, gets rid of stress, helps you be clear and calm and focused, and gives you energy throughout the day. So you're not craving carbs, you're not upset, you're not causing stresses that are making you fat, and it all happens automatically after that.
How long would it take someone or myself to actually see results?
Okay, so everyone's different as far as results. The principles of the Gabriel method are sound and apply to everyone. How well everybody applies those principles is different, and that's where this course comes in. Because originally I wrote a book, and the book got translated into 14 languages. It's in 80 countries. It was a #1 bestseller for months and months and months, and everybody loved it. Everyone loved the concept. But how well everyone did with it depended on how much support they got and how well they understood it. So a course like this, where you're walked through the process, virtually guarantees your best chance at applying the principles properly. And if you apply the principles properly, what will happen is maybe you won't lose weight instantly, or maybe you'll lose a lot of weight. I've had people lose enormous amounts of weight, over 100 pounds in just 9 months. And I've had other people that had to work at it for a while addressing the issues. But what you will walk away from in this course is you will have the tools in place to turn off those fat programs. And then over time, you'll start losing more and more weight.
So with the tools in place, would you say that the weight loss is lasting?
When you apply these principles and when you put these habits in place, you're done with the issue. If you're able to manage stress, if you're doing visualization, if you're nourishing your body, if you're addressing and eliminating the specific triggers in your life, it's forever. You'd never have to think about it again. But one thing that's interesting, I find, is that sometimes people lose weight and they're doing the things. They're listening to the visualizations in the morning or the evening, and then they go, well, this is working. I don't have to do it anymore. And then I talk to them a couple months later and they say, well, something's happening, I'm hungry again, da-da-da. I say, well, are you listening to visualizations? They say, no, I stopped doing that. I didn't think I needed to do it anymore. Well, that's what's working. So when you have a system in place that's working, don't abandon it once it starts working. In other words, keep doing it. In the morning when I wake up, I sit and I do meditation and visualization. That's what I do. I don't have to think about it. It's not a chore. It's become a habit. And I find it to be the most enjoyable part of my life, or one of the most enjoyable parts, because I get so much energy and clarity and creativity from it. It's where I create my day. So that habit has given me benefits in so many different ways. But there's no question that once you address the issues, it's a solve the problem forever approach. And that's exactly what this is. This is a solve the problem forever approach. And this course is exactly how to put those principles in place so that you have the habits there that will solve the problem forever.
So thanks, John. I'm sure that answered a lot of questions in folks' mind online. And I want to thank you guys for being a part of today's broadcast. And remember that this deal won't last forever. So make sure to enroll right now in the Gabriel Code. Go to www.gabrielcode.com/special or click the link below. I'd like to thank you for being a part of today, and just hope that you put into practice things that you learn here so you can be your healthy and slim self and the person you want to be.
Thanks, Novelina. That was great. And thanks, everyone, for listening. I really hope that the information we gave you will help you transform your body and your life forever. Thanks very much.
Hi there, this is Vishnu Lakiani, the founder of Mind Valley, and I just want to give you a big, organic, low-fat, gluten-free, and totally virtual thank you cookie for tuning into John's broadcast. So I hope you've been paying attention, because the remarkable weight loss method that you just learned is making huge waves across the planet. John's written a best-selling book about it, he's been featured in the documentary Hungry for Change, and best of all, he's helped 350,000 people across the planet transform their bodies. So the Gabriel Code program is your chance to get into the action, connect with a powerful weight loss process, and make a meaningful impact on your body. The best part about it is that it's enjoyable. Unlike diets or pills or exercise routines, there are no side effects or potential for burnout. So everything you're going to experience is as natural and harmless and enjoyable as breathing itself. And you most definitely won't be doing it alone. We're expecting 2,000 students to sign up for the program. In fact, here at Mind Valley HQ, many of our employees are going to be taking part in it ourselves. So remember, this is not your usual home training program. The entire experience is powered by a brand new Mind Valley Academy online learning platform, which is going to work great on an iPad, on your computer, or just portable audios that you're going to take on your iPhone. Now, if you're still wondering what kind of results you'll be able to achieve, let's draw some inspiration from people who have achieved real results using the Gabriel Code. So Jesse Law said 11 pounds lost for the month of July. Yippee. And this one, I've been trying to desperately lose 2 pounds in the last month. I have been listening to Gabriel Code the past week, and I've already lost that 2 pounds. It's a miracle and an amazing journey. Can't wait to start. That's from Luda Drummond. And how about this one? Total weight loss to date, 33 pounds. Mile marker, 1/3 of the way towards my goal of losing 100 pounds in a year, and more importantly, keeping it off. That's from Lowell Farrell. From Desi Hasberg, wonderfully excited. I've lost 6 pounds, I notice abundant energy, and I sleep better. And this, wow, just listening today, I believe I can really move forward. I thought I was the only person dealing with this digestive problem I've had since childhood. You have turned on the light for me. That's from Raylene Hayward. Remember, these are just a few of the successful case studies we've gotten out of thousands who have used John Gabriel's program. Now, if you haven't booked your copy yet, go ahead, click on the link below to check out the Gabriel Code. You're getting it for a special deal, over 2/3 off the initial telecourse price, because these are recordings. And the best thing is, you're getting everything, all the recording materials from the previous telecourse, all available for you to listen anytime you want. And remember, you do not have to make a decision now. Simply try it out for 90 days, and if you feel this is not for you, even if you don't like the presentation of the material on the website, you can return it for a full refund. And our customer support staff, which is ranked in the top 1.8% of all companies in the world, using Nice Reply to rank customer service agents, they're going to be there for you to answer any question you need. Now, here's why this is so important to us. Extreme obesity can shorten your lifespan by up to 12 years. That's huge. That's more than a decade. And 1 in 3 Americans, so 1 in 3 out of you watching this today, are suffering from extreme obesity. That's more than 72 million people in the US alone. But you want to know what's really scary? In 1994, only 23% of America was obese. Right now, it's over 35%. That's 2/3 of the country. Overall, 2 in 3 Americans are either overweight or obese. And it's worse. You see, being overweight or obese will not just dampen your sex life, make it harder to be in a fulfilling relationship, even in some studies, lower your perceived performance at work. But it's also going to wreak havoc on you financially in terms of higher healthcare bills. Obesity now accounts for 9.1% of all medical spending, up from 6.5% in just 1998. And on average, if you're obese, okay, so if you're that 1/3 of the population that's obese, you're going to be spending roughly $4.8 thousand in medical bills a year, compared with $3.4 thousand for someone who's in the healthy weight range. In other words, obesity adds on 50% to your annual medical bills. So this is going to cost you in terms of years of your life being shaved off, in terms of increased medical bills, in terms of self-esteem, healthy relationships, even perceived performance at work. There needs to be a solution. I am not a big fan of the diet industry, because if dieting actually worked, we would not be in a situation where at any given point, 60% of all Americans are on a diet. It's because dieting is a short-term solution. That's where the Gabriel Code comes in. I love this program because it showed me that a large chunk of how I deal with my body mass, how all of us do, has got to do with what goes on over here. It's not about the latest exercise machine gimmick. It's not about the latest dieting fad. It's about clearing up the dogma and the rubbish and the bad programming that we've been taken on since childhood that has caused us to create an unhealthy self-image that leads to an unhealthy body. That's what the Gabriel Code is going to help you overcome. The best part is, once you release these blocks, once you understand what's causing this, you are free for life. See, these bad programmings, they come into you as a child because we don't know better. But now as an adult, with someone with a logical brain who can discern from bad idea and a good idea, once you're able to remove that bad programming, you get to stay healthy for life. It becomes a lot easier. And you'll find that once you learn to lose weight and keep those pounds off in so many ways, every element of your life starts improving. So go ahead, click the link below. Once again, you do not need to make a decision now. You get to try it out for 90 days. And if it's not for you, get a full refund. Thank you, and I look forward to having you as a student for the Gabriel Code.